Kinetics has been made in association with Road Race Parts. Top quality, best prices, no compromise. Head to roadraceparts.com to get parts for your racing vehicles now. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Velocity Kinetics. Today we're not going to be doing a season review just yet. That is on the cards at some point, but when is another matter entirely due to time constraints and pressures at work. But what I want to discuss today is Rosberg's retirement, shock retirement, and his championship, basically. Now, any person who wins a world championship thoroughly deserves it. There are people who haven't been fond of winning the world championship, like Lewis last year, for instance. I didn't agree with him winning that, but fair play. He had the best car, best equipment. Likewise, when Vettel kept winning, it was a case of, well done. You've had the best car, best equipment. You've done what you meant to do. I couldn't say I was thrilled. Let me put it this way: I was thrilled when Alonso won the championship. I was thrilled when Raikkonen won his, when Hamilton won his, when Button, his first one, should I clarify, when Button won his, and then when Vettel won his first one. Because they were sort of all first times and it'd been bucking a trend, or basically it wasn't a repeat, basically. So really, Rosberg is the first new champion since Vettel's 2010 championship. Which is, depending on how you look at it, that's a good thing. Some people might say it's a bad thing, Hamilton should have won, and some people say it's a good thing, we need a change. But what has shocked a lot of people is Rosberg's decision now to retire. Now, I can't say I'm too fond of his decision to retire, because I always liked Rosberg. You know how I can put it? He reminded me a bit of Jenson Button in many ways. He was never really hiding much. You could tell he wasn't into plots, he wasn't into schemes, he wasn't into deceit. Some people say, well, you need to have a ruthless streak to be a champion. Like, well, nah. Massa didn't have a ruthless streak, and technically he was champion for about 10 seconds, but championship material. Barrichello, championship material. Never had a ruthless streak. Jenson Button, world champion, doesn't have a ruthless streak. It's sad to see him go. Now, in fairness, I gather from having watched a few YouTube videos this morning, I did record something last night, and then I thought I'd just have a look around, see what was said. And I get the impression he just wants to. One, he's happy with one world championship. And two, he wants to spend more time with his family. Right, that he wants to spend time with them, and to keep competing at the top echelon of the sport and be the number one guy to beat. To be the number one guy to beat means putting in a lot of time in the factory, a lot of time at the gym, a lot of time doing promotion, because obviously being a champion you'll be needed for the commercial side of things. Which, if he's got a young family, it's not going to blend with what he wants. But that said, some people go, well, why doesn't he just go and drive a Haas or something like that? Well, he don't want that. He did that with a Williams. He did that with the FW 28, 29, 30, 31. If my memory serves me correct. And to a point, you could argue with the Mercedes, the first time it was a full Mercedes Works team. Well, in its most recent incarnation, so I'd say not the first time it was, because obviously they were back in the 50s. It reminds me of James Hunt, really, in the sense of James Hunt was happy just to have one world championship. Lauda wasn't. Again, it's similar to Jenson Button. I appreciate Jenson Button would love to have more world championships, but he's always said he's happy with what he got. Wouldn't have said no to more, but during the Abu Dhabi race, a lot of Lewis Hamilton's tactics caused question. Now, what he did, he was basically backing Rosberg up to try and have him overtaken by Verstappen and Vettel. The team were telling him to hurry up and speed up, but he ignored the call. I can't say I disagree with Hamilton's tactics. I would love to sit here and say Hamilton's an arsehole over that, he should have done blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, he's a winning animal. He's going to do what's within the rules to win. And technically, he didn't break... Well, there's no technically. He didn't break any rules. Disobeyed team orders, but didn't break any rules. The only downside if they kept going that slow would have been the brakes and the tyres probably wouldn't have been up to temperature should they have needed them. But that said, it created the spectacle we needed. I would have thought Hamilton would have rather just sort of gone, you know what, it might be Rosberg's championship, but I'm going to fucking show him I am the faster driver and just gone. I thought Hamilton was going to do that, which, fair play that he didn't. I can't knock him for doing what he did. If I ever found myself in that situation, which, maybe in another life, who knows, hopefully, whichever religion, I can't remember, Hindu believes in reincarnation? Hopefully whichever religion believes in reincarnation, hopefully they're right, and next time I'll be a Formula 1 driver. But we've got to then discuss what Hamilton did from the other side of things. Mercedes is a car manufacturer. Commercially, that was not a good move what Hamilton did. If they'd lost, he could have cost them thousands, well, millions in sales, potentially. And they then haven't got the record of saying we won all these races, but they can't say they won X number of races this season, which is the most anyone's ever won, or something like that. I've seen videos and things comes up on F1 Reader on Twitter that imply Hamilton might be fired, he might be facing sanctions. Now, he could still be fired, because I agree with Sir Jackie Stewart's comments that I've seen, that he's just a little ballerina. He is a prima donna of the worst kind, is Lewis Hamilton. And what I mean is, when things are going his way, he's brilliant. I appreciate some people wear their heart on their sleeve, like I prattle on how much I love Rubens, but Rubens very much wore his heart on his sleeve. Sorry, it's my coffee, I need some caffeine. Bloody knackered. He wears his heart on his sleeve, but there's a difference between wearing your heart on your sleeve and wearing it in your attitude, if that makes sense. Like, Rubens might have worn his heart on his sleeve, he might have displayed his displeasure on his face, but he did whatever the team needed him to do. Like it or lump it, he did it. Likewise, Massa did whatever he had to do. And to a lesser extent, but in the same category, Jenson Button again. He's recently had the difficulty with the god-awful McLaren that he's been forced to drive, but at the same time he did what he could. Frustration will occasionally get the better of anyone. There will be occasions any driver will go, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have acted like that. Hamilton does it too often. Commercially, he's good for whatever team he goes to, but he requires... I think it's why McLaren micromanaged him, to be honest, because he was very restricted in what he could and couldn't do when he was at McLaren. And to be honest, in many ways, I still wasn't a massive fan of Hamilton then, but his attitude was a lot better than it's been at Mercedes. Or Hamilton's attitude in his first year at Mercedes was a lot better as well. So it's hard to say what to do. Now, some of the things I've seen are calling for Hamilton to be sacked. That could still happen. I mean, it depends on what's been going on behind closed doors. Behind closed doors, Toto and Nicky might have gone, "You're a fucking idiot, Hamilton. You're an absolute goddamn idiot." He might be on his last warning. It might be a case of pull that same shit again this year, and you're out. We have no idea what's going to happen. I'd love to be on a fly on the wall for some of those meetings. But I'd love to be a fly on the wall for some of those Mercedes meetings between Hamilton and management, see what they say. Now, he might get fined, he might get a slap on the wrist, he might be on his absolute last warning, which is understandable. Some people go, he's a racing driver. Yes, but at the end of the day, he's an employee. That's all it comes down to. He's an employee. Toto Wolff and Niki Lauda are his bosses. That's it. Hamilton could probably get in at any team without too much difficulty. Williams would probably throw their doors open for him. I know Sir Frank Williams said he would like to, but Haas would have him. Renault would take him. Virtually any team, aside from Red Bull, possibly. Well, you know, possibly because they got a decent lineup on their own anyway. Virtually any other team would take him. So it's not like he's short of. It's not like he's short of offers. But like I said, whichever team he drives for at present, need his saleability, his commercial side of things. There's Lewis Hamilton, the driver, and there's Lewis Hamilton, the brand. This then leaves a possibility because Mercedes. Everyone's going, well, there's one seat available at Mercedes. Realistically, yes, there probably is just one seat available at Mercedes. But there might possibly be 2 seats available, depending on where the dust settles. Work on the scenario is going to be 1 seat. There are a few options. There's Wehrlein, there's Gutierrez available, there's Nasser available, Haryanto to a point's available. They're the available drivers. And then you could also say, well, Maldonado is available because he's not been in Formula 1. I'm just trying to think of someone. And potentially you could argue that Jenson Button and Massa are available because Mercedes is going to want experience over someone who's green. So out of the immediate pool of people they could go, that can just go, yeah, I can, without any contractual obligation, the list's not that long. Well, by contractual obligation, I mean they haven't got a drive, as of yet. Obviously, Button's got his contract with McLaren for the other season, for the next season, but who knows how airtight or signed and sealed that is. So what could they do? Wehrlein is their blue-eyed boy. Wehrlein has done a lot of testing in the W05. He's Mercedes prodigy, basically. I think he's too green, though, to go in this season. He's too green to go from the Manor to the Mercedes. Now, he did score points in the Manor, and he ultimately, I think he came off ahead of Haryanto in their little inter-team battle. But he didn't come off well enough, is the only way I can put it. It wasn't like he thrashed Haryanto. There were occasions where Haryanto was embarrassingly close to him. So maybe another season in the Manor probably wouldn't have been a bad idea for Wehrlein. What I think Mercedes probably need to do, they'll need to have a German driver in the German team, because that's what they want marketing-wise. But anyway, I think it's going to be they're going to want a German driver. Gutierrez has not shown. I know I just made the point about German driving, going on to Gutierrez Mexican. I'm flitting between points here. Gutierrez, who's available, he's not shown in his time in Formula 1. He has not, for me, shown any promise. He is he is absolutely everything wrong with some paid drivers. That they got no talent behind them, whereas they've got enough talent to get to where they are, but it's their checkbook that secures them. Some people go, well, Maldonado was a paid driver, as was Bruno Senna. Like, yeah, but Bruno Senna did do relatively well in the Williams, not as well as Maldonado did. Maldonado, well, he's a race winner, which you've got to have a bit of talent to be a race winner, like him or lump him. So Gutierrez, he's not really had enough standout performances for me to warrant driving Mercedes. Likewise, Felipe Nasser. I always want to say Nasser. Been watching too much Spartacus. Felipe Nasser has not shown enough promise for me. If he's at Sauber again next year, if he does the same thing again that he's done, it's been a bit anonymous, then it's people go, yeah, but he's scored the points for Sauber, and like, yeah, otherwise, but he's been too anonymous for my liking. So I think those two are out. Haryanto is far too green to go to them, so rule him out. I think he's probably going to be at Sauber. If he's in Formula 1, he'll be at Sauber at or Manor or whatever Manor call themselves next year. Button is a possibility. Button might be tempted back with the chance of driving a race-winning car. He's worked at the factory where Mercedes used to be the BAR Honda team. It was the Brawn team, so he knows a lot of the people there. And Hamilton and Button, it wasn't the friendliest of partnerships, is the only way I can put it. As in, they weren't bosom buddies. They got on well enough to keep harmony within the team, is the only way to put it. So that would be an advantage with having Button. But like I said, Button went into this season, this last race, over to my last one. I'm tired, I want some time off, etc. So he might be tempted back by the chance of driving a race-winning car again. And he's got the experience that will be required to develop any car, which is something that no one can hold a candle to. Beyond Fernando Alonso, no one can hold a candle to Jenson Button for car development. So McLaren were best suited when they had the best driver lineup probably ever seen when they had those two. People have said maybe Alonso might be a possibility for Mercedes to go for. No, because Hamilton and Alonso probably won't get on. They might get on when they're face-to-face for the media now, but realistically, no. Massa, he's got experience with the Mercedes engine, which has obviously been in the back of the Williams, and he's available, and he's always been quick. But again, I think Massa, much like Button, I think they've just had enough. Maybe in a year or two, but maybe in a year or two they might come back, but as far as I'm concerned, they've had enough. As far as I read it, they've both had enough. Just need some downtime. Felipe's got his family, and Felipe had that wonderful send-off in Brazil. I think he'll just want to hold on to that memory and call it it. Well, what else? Who else could go then? Is the problem. A lot of people are saying that Valtteri Bottas might go to Mercedes because he's managed by Toto, and Valtteri has been on a lot of people's radars. The Williams hasn't been. It's wrong to say the Williams hasn't been good enough. What has happened is the Williams is still probably. Well, the Williams is still very up there. It's just Ferrari and Red Bull filled the void. There was such a big void between Mercedes and Williams in 2014. Yeah, 2014. There's such a big gap between those two that Red Bull has gone and Mercedes has gone. No, Ferrari's gone into it. Which is understandable even to a point in 2015. Williams were more or less where they were. It's just other people have filled the gap. So Williams have only gone backwards by the fact other people have improved, which the car's still solid, but Valtteri's just not been able to get up there because there's been too much competition, basically, for want of a better wording. He might flourish, but I think the Williams environment suits him. I think the whole thing is just better for Valtteri. They can't afford to lose the experience that Valtteri's got. Another possibility would be Grosjean to be pulled out of Haas and pulled up, because again, Grosjean's got experience with the Mercedes engine from his last year at Lotus. But for Grosjean, I think Grosjean wants into Ferrari, and Haas is probably the best route into Ferrari, which is possible, I guess. But again, Grosjean, he's come back up. Grosjean sort of drops up and down people's lists, like with the E20. Was it E22? Was it E20? Trying to think which one. I'm just trying to remember what the chassis number was, where he was close to winning a race with Lotus. It was before the turbos. I can't remember what the chassis number was. It was when he was still partnered with Raikkonen. He was really bang up there with people on people's shopping lists for teams. And then he dropped off when the Lotus dropped off. And he came back up when he got the podium in Spa, then dropped back off again. And then with his performances in the Haas, he's dropped back up. He's come back up people's lists. So he's got the talent. There's no denying that. But again, much like with Bottas, he'll have to be paid out of his Haas contract, which Haas would not say no to the money. What team would not say no to the money? Even Williams would love to have that sort of money, so they might even just do that. So look, we need to balance our books a bit. Off you go. They could, because I think they're going to want to, like I said, I think they're going to want to stick with German driver, German team. They might pay Hulkenberg out of his Renault contract, which Renault would be almightily pissed, but given the Enstone team's books are millions of miles from balanced, that they might say, look, Hulkenberg, I'm sorry, mate, but you're going to have to go. But then Hulkenberg again got this experience in the Mercedes engine from the Force India. He's very fast. Trade-offs, he's got a bit of a reputation for disobeying team orders, which I don't think they would want. But Hulkenberg is long overdue a top seat. So, it depends on how you look at it. But then again, Renault are a strong team to be with. Granted, this year's performance has not been very good, but they always knew it wasn't going to be very good. So where do you go from there? The other possibility, again, until it happens, I don't believe it's a very real possibility. It's almost I'll believe it when it happens. Mercedes are probably going to might possibly pay Vettel out of his Ferrari contract. Go with German in German, have all that experience, and go very quick. And then, of course, I mean, if that scenario happened, what would probably happen? Vettel to Mercedes, and then they'd either boot Hamilton out to Ferrari, or they'll promote Grosjean into the Ferrari from the Haas, and then leave people to fight amongst themselves, basically. Given that he's just signed with the team, I'm surprised no one made a beeline for Magnussen, to be honest. They could have. I know he's been signed to Haas, but I'm surprised his name has been mentioned. Surprised people haven't gone, well, try and pay him out of his Haas contract and get him over there, because Magnussen was always, K-Mag was always very highly rated by everyone. So there are holds of possibilities as to what could happen with Mercedes. A lot of people are questioning Rosberg's mentality behind his retirement. Some people are going, oh, he knows he can't beat Hamilton again. He's been forced out. He's been fired. It was Mercedes wouldn't get rid of Hamilton, so he left, sort of thing like. Who knows? I ultimately think, as I said earlier, it's a case of he's content with his one world championship. He's going to get out on top, and in the rare event that the Mercedes next year is completely shite, he's going to look like a genius if the Mercedes car is rubbish next year. He'll look like an absolute genius for getting out when he did. In fact, I wouldn't be at all surprised if a little bit of him, he'll probably stay on in some sort of brand ambassador role. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if he's praying a little bit that the Mercedes is not very good next year, so he can go, look at me, I'm a genius for getting that when I did. Which, fair play, that wouldn't be wrong for him to want that. In many ways, you could say that with Prost when he left Williams in '93, given how the Williams wasn't bad in '94, it's just a bit difficult to drive. So he probably looked like a genius when he left Williams, and then Senna was struggling with the 16 FW16 when Senna started struggling with 16. So give it one, take with the others. Basically, the only way it can be described. Ultimately, we must congratulate Rosberg on what he did. A lot of people say he doesn't deserve it, which winds me up. He did deserve it. He does deserve it. Given he had a more conventional route into Formula One than Hamilton, by that I mean Hamilton came straight into a race-winning McLaren, which is probably what doesn't help his current mentality, just the way Hamilton is. Hamilton probably a better all-rounder, character-wise it is, not driver-wise. Or because Hamilton, you give him a bathtub and wheels, will find a way to try and make it go around the track fastest. Hamilton would be a better all-rounded character if he'd done a year in a Force India or a year in a Williams sort of thing. He'd been better off being midfield before being promoted up to the big leagues, which is not an uncommon thing for some teams to try and do. But Rosberg, given that he had a more conventional route in, he was in the Williams, he was pitted against Webber, was pitted against the not very brilliant Nakajima. He scored a few podiums with the Williams, not that many, but the Williams were not exactly brilliant cars. He was winning the Singapore Grand Prix one year before, I think he went over the white line. Was that the same year as Crashgate? I think it might have been the same year as Crashgate. He went over the white line and then not quite disqualified, but then had to do a drive-through, which then basically put him to the back or something along those lines, if my memory serves me correct. But he's had a more conventional route through, and I think he's just a more all-rounded person for it. But in his time, he's been against Hamilton and Schumacher. So Rosberg's been up against two of the best people in the sport. Hamilton is widely regarded, even by myself, he's widely regarded as one of the best ever. I'd say Alonso is higher up the list than Hamilton, but that's a different story. So, for those people who are saying Rosberg doesn't deserve it, stop talking out your backsides. He completely does deserve it, by far and away. He had the best car. Is it because he and Hamilton had the best cars in general anyway? He was in we'll change that. He was in the best team, he produced the best machinery, he put the best juice, he did what he had to do, which is what all world champions do. You just do what you've got to do. So if it means finishing 6th just to maintain 1 point advantage, you'll finish 6th to maintain 1 point advantage. If you can finish higher, you will, but you just got to get the points in, build them up, and that'll be you're done, basically. He's been remarkably level-headed. He could have been effing and blinding every time things didn't go his way. He could have thrown Hissy Fit on Hissy Fit if he wanted to. But no, I would say Rosberg has probably been one of them. Is probably the most rounded champion we've had for a while. I would say Vettel and Button and Rosberg and Alonso were all rounded in this manner. Alonso at the bottom of this list and probably Jensen and Nico at the top. By rounded, what I mean is they're good with the media, don't always wear their heart on their sleeve, say what they need to say, head down, get the job done. Hamilton doesn't quite have that same ability, and he'll sort of go all sort of when things are not going his way. So, well done, Nico. It'd be nice to see you back in a couple of years if you want to come back. I will be happy to see you come back, but hopefully the Mercedes is not as good as it's been this year, in the sense of then you look like an absolute genius for what you've done. And, well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, hopefully for our review of 2016. Might try and have a couple of other people in on that video if I can, but if not, it'll be, well, usual format. And as usual, look after yourselves, take care. For first aid training, go to premiernorth.co.uk, and if you're looking for racing parts, go to roadraceparts.com for all your racing needs, and take care of yourselves. Velocity Kinetics has been made in association with Road Race Parts. Top quality, best prices, no compromise. Head to roadraceparts.com to get parts for your racing vehicles now.